you and your CFO and your controllers are always on top of, right, we're going to give this producer some money, where are they going to shoot, what do the credits look like, what's our exposure? And we've gotten a lot of profile in the last couple of years. Questions? Further? Oh wait, no, going back. Yeah, you had your hand up earlier. Go ahead. Stand up so we can hear your question.
Hi, I'm John Hazel. My background, I lived down in LA. I did directing and acting out there, and I moved back here to Iowa. I co-wrote and acted in a film last year, Beneath the Mississippi, that was here, and I've also directed several documentaries as well, and I've submitted a lot of applications for the to Tom. So talking with Tom, I think Tom. Anyway, we've talked or emailed quite a bit here. So I'm learning as I'm going through all these applications. I've been working with a line producer. I have some specific questions. You talked about the contract labor. And this is a question I got going with the line producer out in LA that I've worked with. The line producer wouldn't even sign off on my projects if I had contract laborers. And she told me essentially that every person really should be a W-2, and every person there should be workman's comp across the board for all everyone that's on the productions. So I just wanted to see if you guys could address that when you're getting into this. How does that work with the credits? And also, I'd like to hear a little bit on insurance.
But that doesn't totally depend on your budget. That statement that this line, I mean, that depends on where the budget is and whether it has to be.
Well, whether it's union or not is largely contingent upon the budget. It's also dependent upon whether or not you're coming from a jurisdiction that operates union, and whether or not you've got relationships with people who have contracts and so forth. But in terms of the way in which the personnel are accounted for from the bookkeeping standpoint, it's not out of the question to have contracted labor, because if they are an independent company, a sole proprietor, a single owner LLC, then that is a company that will be 1099. But I agree, though, that given the opportunity to add that person as an employee with a W-2 and to have the withholding and so forth is the best way to go, because you still are responsible for the tax liability in the state, even if at the end of the tax year you get to exclude it. That would come back. It's the best way to handle it as a W-2, but there's no specific requirement. It's down to what's appropriate. Now, I would interject here that there is growing concern at the policy level regarding the designation of employment, because there is worry of abuse of the 1099 because it doesn't withhold. And so given the opportunity to add the crew member, the cast member, and so forth as an employee with the W-2 and withholding, that is the best way to go.
Okay, that was my main thing. Then if I could ask you then, is workman's comp is something that came up a lot, I know, and I would imagine as far as the state goes, you want to make sure that there's as much insurance coverage as possible. And if you could just address that and completion bonds. I'm just curious how that's something is that something that the state is really wanting every production to do, is to try to have a completion bond.
That's come up in part of our conversations. It's not, we're not settled on that like most of the other topics we're considering. Completion bond requirement would probably put the axe to quite a few different projects, and that is not what we're after. But a completion bond brings with it a level of assurance, a level of backing that would give us a great deal of comfort. And I think that one of the offers that I put on the table is to say that the budget is prepared by a bondable or bonded line producer or somebody else whose opinion can be relied upon, because the whole thing is based on the budget. You know, the whole value of the credit is ultimately derived from that initial budget. And so if there's a wild variation between the initial budget and the final spending, there's going to be some serious concerns. If the budget was, unless of course, you know, there was some unexpected expense that really escalated the cost. And so having a budget provided by a bonded or bondable line producer or whomever was the most appropriate person who could be counted on would give an awful lot of comfort to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Question?
He did.
Good. Right here.
All right. I'm Judd Saul with Cohesion Productions, based out of Cedar Falls. produced a documentary called Frag. It's on its way to getting worldwide release right now. One of the questions I have regarding basically training new people and new employees, I look at the Michigan tax code and they have a little bonus extra per person for training new people. Is that something that you guys are like looking to implementing or?
Workforce development sort of.
Yeah, workforce development.
Well, yes, we have looked at the other states' programs that do have that kind of stair-step offer, and it's an idea that's on the table, but it's something that we have looked at in terms of managing the cap, or actually it's really, we have the ability to negotiate the percentage because of the fact that we're under a cap. We need that flexibility. So again, it's on the table, but it's one among a number of different suggestions for just managing how much is going out per project.
You know, there are different types of job training programs offered through different parts of the DED now, and it's managing to try and convince the DED that those types of trainings would fit into that program, or trying to offer changes to those programs so that they would actually work with this industry as well. Another reason to talk to these people.
Can you give me like an idea of what they offer?
There's a high-tech industry job training program, but they all are headed towards a direction of a specific amount of money that people are going to get paid. So there's a target pay amount, and they're really built around more traditional 8 hours, those kind of permanent buildings and closed types of jobs. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a greater understanding and inspire some change.
There are three basic ways that we could, that policy-wise from the state side, that we can address the training directly. One would be the grant that was given to Iowa Motion Picture Association to provide a specific encapsulated kind of workshop. The second would be, as Mark was saying, using the pre-existing training programs that are job-oriented. And to be clear, a job is something that's, again, as Mark was saying, it's where you go to every day, you have benefits, a set amount of wage, and it's kind of traditional what you think of as a job. Whereas this temporary nature of these projects, I have been referring to that as simply employment. So getting those workforce development folks and the Department of Economic Development folks to understand that ongoing temporary work is the equivalent of a job is something that I need, we all need a little help in there. And so then the third level of, or way of getting the training is the on-the-job training that we just incorporate into the benefit structure of the program, so that the filmmakers who would probably train anyway now have a monetary incentive to formally train and really put people through the paces.
My name is Praveen Gadkari, and I'm a member of the Iowa Digital Filmmakers Guild. I've been working on a couple of shorts, of late, being an AD. So for those short films that I have worked on with the IDFG team from Cedar Rapids. My question is specifically geared towards, because the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people out there, film people out in the street, that are ignorant, don't know enough that they need to about this program. Is there anything that the film office is doing specifically to spread awareness amongst filmmakers in Iowa, number one? And number two, if I don't know anything, and I just heard that there is something like this out there, can I approach the film office, or are there some seminars, workshops that I can attend to know more about this program?
That's one of the things that I regret the most about the success of the program, is that the more the filmmakers call me, and the harder it is for Terry to get a hold of me, the harder it is for you to get a hold of me too. I know that a lot of you used to see me at events like this regularly, and that's exactly how I would get out and say, guys, there's this program out there that's attracting these filmmakers. Get yourself in the guys who can get hired and learn your craft, earn some money, make your own film. And I think that, again, kind of appealing to policymakers to
enhance the services from the film office, broadening